Have you ever wanted to live off the grid? Stake a claim in an untamed patch of wilderness, nothing but you, some friends, and a lot of hard work and determination. And hey, whilst you're at it, why not start a few cutesy rituals that really give your new community some character? Sky Lantern festivals, disco nights, communal weed smoking, gladiatorial battling, human sacrifice, etc. Lucky for you, there is a game that can scratch all those itches and more. Hello, my name is Hen, and welcome to this little series where in each episode we discuss a video game and how that game reflects or represents ideas or organisational structures indicative of socialism. As a side note, the series is not meant to be read as gospel. A lot of the stuff I'll talk about is open to interpretation, especially in some games where certain topics aren't explicitly mentioned. It's fun, it is a bit of fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you too. Rimworld is a sci-fi fantasy colony survival type game where you act as a sort of manager to a handful of colonists. Each of these colonists have their own needs, desires, histories, relationships, urges. The game is primarily spent by balancing the needs of each of your colonists with the resources available to you, as well as dealing with whatever the latest crisis is. There isn't necessarily a hard and fast goal to the game, but there are a few ways of winning. The game presents an endgame screen when you escape the planet. How this is done is largely up to you. You can build a ship yourself, use a distant AI ship, be offered aid by an in-game empire, or receive the blessing of a god. There's plenty of ways to skin a cat, which you can also do. But I'm not here to talk solely about Rimworld and all the wonderful things you can get up to in it. I'm here to talk about how this game relates to socialism. Now, right from the get-go, people look at this game and see the following. In the default colony setup, there doesn't seem to be any sort of hierarchy. Colonists seem to have equal access and ownership to just about everything in the colony. The only things colonists don't share are their beds, clothes on their backs, and the current weapons they're holding. The game also features an ideal religion system that allows you to customize the culture of your colony. It can determine what your colonists like and what is generally frowned upon. During the creation of this, you can also choose to be a collectivist or an individualist. However, these mostly seem to be aesthetic and don't really affect the gameplay all that much, aside from the collectivist option giving your colonists bonuses to their work drive. So from the look of it, it does seem to fit the bill. Collectively owned means of production, colonists all share equal footing in their little village, nobody's elevated above the rest, assuming you aren't climbing the imperial hierarchy. I think you could definitely refer to this as a representation of socialism with maybe a few asterisks. For one, this should be by no means understood as the only representation of socialism. Quite often there's a bit of an idealized understanding of social ownership that is rural or agrarian in nature. People imagine living in an isolated community, out in the wilderness, working together to produce what that community needs to survive, sharing resources and means of producing these resources, etc. In reality, most of us live in cities or towns. Urban socialism would therefore look a little bit different to reflect the differences in supply chains, population density, the diversity of that population, the services within that said urban area, etc. Rimworld isn't really ever going to reflect how socialism could look to most of us, unless you're already living in rural nowhere. But again, it's just one reflection of how communities led by socialist principles could look. Secondly, it isn't actually clear at all how decision making is done, and that's because it's a colony management game after all. You, the player, are the one making the decisions. As such, you are the executive of this colony, and by extension, the owner of everything in it, including the means of production. Thinking of it like that, it is in fact the antithesis of social ownership of the means of production. It's the most private form of ownership of the means of production that you could actually have. But that argument is fairly meta, and the narrative of the game heavily implies that each of the colonists are the ones making these decisions, so really play with that one how you will. That's really the ins and outs of it with this one. The game itself relies on emergent storytelling, so depending on how you interpret these stories in your head and in your own playthroughs, there may be much more you can explore in this regard. But what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also leave a comment if you think of any games that I could talk about. I'll mostly be focusing on the list I already have, but there's no reason this list can't grow. If you're not already subscribed, and chances are you're not, please consider doing so if you're interested in this series or anything else I do. That's pretty much it. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.